I'm here today. I'm chatting to Mark from Coolbox. Coolbox is one of our video partners, and we just thought we'd kind of get together and have a bit of a chat about, I guess, why video isn't just a nice to have anymore. I think it's really necessary today. I think more and more people are consuming information that way, and I think it's how external talent, especially, experiences your employer brand. So we thought we'd just have a bit of a chat about that today. So I guess first question I'm going to throw over to you, Mark, is what, in your experience, have been the most impactful ways that you've seen companies using video for recruitment purposes and sort of employer branding purposes?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think really it comes down to kind of two aspects. I mean, I suppose they're both educational pieces at the end of the day. Like it's educating people about the brand, and it's whether you're telling them about the nuts and bolts of like that brand, that company, what it's like to work for. And sometimes it's just educating them about what certain roles are, like explainer videos of like what the roles are, which is one thing. It's quite if we think of it as like showing and telling, it's kind of telling people this is what it's like to work at this company. You get this, you do Sally says it's great to work here because of X, Y, and Z. And it's quite formulate's the wrong word, but like it's quite uninspiring for want of a better word. So I think the other side of it is kind of educating people. It's more of like a brand piece. It's more arguably more soft, fluffy around the edges, but it's more about like the feeling that you get and the experience that you get at working for a certain company or a brand. And it's more of like I think of it as like a lifestyle kind of piece of like realistically, and it's putting the potential employee in the focus of the video opposed to the company as being the focus of the video. It's like, if you come and work for us, this is what it's going to feel like. This is how it's going to, you know, affect your life. Because at the end of the day, like you're working for that company for 40 hours a week. You've got hundreds of hours outside that's the rest of your life. And it's how that job fits into the rest of your life and how it affects the rest of your life. And so it's like companies that can really like tap into that they realize that their employee as a person is a multifaceted person. It's not just about these are the job perks that you get. It's how do you fully integrate that person into your company. So I think the brands that can do that are going to be the ones that are really great at like bringing on amazing talent and retaining talent.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think if I guess how you kind of use video at different points as well. I think the bit that you were talking about there, that I think you use the word inspiring. That inspiring piece, it's kind of a really good format to use at like an awareness phase. Like maybe people aren't yet thinking about working for you. They've never maybe heard of you before. But that sort of inspiring video could kind of, I guess, draw you in, attract you to kind of look a
Yeah,
little bit more at
totally.
at the business. Yeah.
Well, that's it. It might not even be a company that you'd even considered, applying for or trying to find more information out. But so just if you're looking at kind of facts and figures of their base here, they do this. It doesn't really give you everything. It doesn't give you. I mean, like I say, it gives you the kind of nuts and bolts and the facts, inverted commas. But like, I think people ask more from their jobs now, especially people who are really career focused. Like they want to know like how it's going to affect them, and realistically, is this a position that I want to be in for a while? Is it a company that I want to invest my time in? It's like a two-way street, right? You're giving your time to that company, and it's an investment for you as the employee as well as the company invested in you. So yeah, it's a really interesting time. I think like the landscape has totally changed, even in just a few years that we've been doing kind of recruitment stuff. I think like it's not as simple as just doing like your employee testimonial videos, like the company. I really like doing like company culture type videos and stuff like that, which is kind of what I'm getting at. But I think you've got to go deeper than that now, and you've got to do your
Right.
research as well.
I think what's really interesting is you're right. I think there is a bit of a shift, and candidates are kind of getting smarter. There's a whole world of marketing out there that they're getting thrusted in front of them all of the time. As it was,
Yeah,
people see like 5,000 ads a day, something ridiculous like that.
exactly.
And I think recruitment marketing, you're right, needs to be more like consumer marketing. kind of
Totally.
it's not just a day in the life type video. It's not just a culture piece video. It's a how can we, inspire people to apply to a job, as you said. They spend 40 hours a week, 48 weeks a year, maybe sort of like 30 years of their life.
Yeah.
Quite a big purchase.
Yeah.
And when you've got companies out there doing videos to try and sell you a 75p kind of fizzy drink, you can see that how important it is to get a really strong video out there to attract people to such a big offer,
Yeah.
like a job, I guess.
Yeah, you're right. And I think like video is just so ubiquitous now, isn't it? Like it is everywhere. It's like I remember early days of me doing video when I was trying to sell it to clients. I'd be like, oh, not having a video now, say early 2000s, is like not having a website in the 90s. And now it's moved on so much now that it's such a ridiculous thing to say, like of course you need video. Like it's such a fast way of getting your point across. But having said that, it's a really like obviously I'm going to say that I'm a video producer, but it is a really efficient, fantastic, like beautiful way of getting messages across. But the problem is everybody has realized that. So now you're fighting against everyone else, and now you've got to get that point across so much quicker. You've got to be, I think, gone are the days where you could have a 5 minute video. Like I can't remember the last time we made a 5 minute video, like of trying to explain all the different amazing things that you would get at this, if you came and worked for this company. It's like you've got to grab people like instantly, otherwise they're going. I mean, you might be able to grab them and then point them in the direction of like a job site or to the company website, but if you're not grabbing them in the first few seconds, like they'll move on to something else.
Yeah, you're right. And I mean, let's be fair, TikTok has probably accelerated that feeling anyway, that I need information quickly in a short form video.
Yeah.
And I like that. Not having video now is like not having a website in the sort of like 90s, early 2000s or whatever. I think it's insane that the likes of, like I said, TikTok or YouTube, YouTube is like the second most visited website in the UK, something like that. And I think almost everyone in the UK is a user of YouTube. Like, it's like 50 odd million users in
Well,
the
it's a
UK.
search engine. It's just a search
Exactly,
engine.
yeah, exactly that. And I was going to kind of get onto that. We were talking before this about sort of strange hobbies, etc. And I never thought I would be someone that would use TikTok to kind of like look up bits and pieces about various hobbies that I've got. I thought I'd always be the sort of person that would use Google search and kind of do it that way, the way that I've probably done it for 20 years or something ridiculous like that. But I'm finding myself more and more now looking for shorter explainer videos to kind of help me understand the thing that I'm trying to understand. And I guess it would be fair to say that candidates and employees and people kind of looking for new roles, etc., are probably doing the same. How do I write a great CV for X company?
Yes.
How do I apply for my first position as a graduate, etc., etc.? What's it like to work at so and so? Likely to be looking for these things on YouTube and TikTok and places like that.
I think that's a really interesting point. And like, I'm probably similar to you. I've not actively looked for a job for a very long time, so I'm out of the loop in terms of like how people actually search for stuff. And I can imagine Gen Z, like millennials, I reckon you're right. That is probably their first port of call for, like, especially if they're trying to not so much like apply for a job, but like if they're trying to get an idea about the like company culture. I don't think they're going to hit up the website. I think they're going to go on social media and they're going to find that sort of information. But I've been interested to see where that starts tipping back the other way to more traditional like ways of finding it. So like job sites and like company websites. Because I imagine the generation above us, which is Gen X, right?
Gen X,
Yeah. So like, I think my mum is like end of Gen X, almost a boomer, and like when she was looking for jobs, like I know she would go on job sites and she would go on company websites and things like that. And I think so. There's still people in the job market that use both. So I suppose it's how you align both of those, sets of it. It's not just video. I'm not just talking about video. I'm talking about campaign in general. I suppose it's like making it consistent across all those platforms and making sure that people aren't falling behind through the gaps, right?
Yeah, it's a really good point. I'm going to kind of take us a little bit back because we started talking about like short form TikTok video, etc., like that. So I think this is probably a question that people are finding that they're asking themselves quite a lot at the moment, and that is, if I want to do some video, should I be doing I'm going to call it sort of TikTok style, gritty, user generated stuff, or should I be finding budget to do something a bit more high end, a bit more polished, a bit more produced, I guess.
Mm.
What are your
I
thoughts on that?
think I think I think it's dangerous by starting with, I know I'm going to say this again because I'm a video producer, but like I think it's dangerous to start with what budget have I got and then go from there. I think it's much better to work from the brand. For like, if you think of the brand as being the top of the pyramid of like what is gonna exemplify our brand best, like which platform do we go through? Like if you work for a brand that's very polished and very inverted commas professional, and I think you need to be thinking kind of higher end, a little bit more polished, a little bit more um not necessarily a lot of planning, because I think planning, there should be a lot of planning in whatever you go for, whether it's like user generated content or it's influencer marketing, or anything that comes even if it comes across as like very like lo-fi, there's usually
Mhm.
lots and lots of planning behind it, probably just as much as a big flashy polished TVC, television commercial. But I think my point is, like, I think everything just needs to come from where what does the brand represent? Like if we've got a very info, I'm just trying to think of people who are really good on social media, of like having that very like informal, like Lidl, their tone of voice is very like Pally, and like
Down to earth,
Ryanair and
yeah.
down to earth thing like Currys. I'm trying to think of people who are really good at doing that like UGC content of like it feels like very pally, and like it's very like shareable content, and it's genuinely funny, and they've like hats off to the people that do their social campaigns and stuff, because like they're awesome in it. But like, so I'm talking a bit broader than recruitment, I suppose, just from a brand point of view. I think it's just start with the brand, like how do we want to be associated? Do we want to be associated with this, or something that's a little bit more, you can feel the fingerprints on it, that's like kind of homemade, and it feels like, and for that sort of TikTok like feels like it's been made by a human. It doesn't feel like it's been made by a team of media professionals, because it doesn't need to. So that would be my starting point of like, what does the brand really dictate it should be, and
Mhm.
then kind of go from there. And then obviously budget does come into it. It can't, if
Of
it's a
course.
relatively new brand and they haven't got huge amounts of money to spend on recruitment, yeah, obviously you're not going to do a really like a huge campaign across loads of different mediums. Like, you want to maybe focus on one thing. But like from a video point of view, I would say spend as much money as you can on the creative upfront, the ideation, get as much of the pre-production, like just front load the whole thing basically. The worst thing you can do is do the complete opposite and just go in there and just hire a camera crew, shoot it all, and then work it out in post.
Yeah. Just
Sometimes
have
that
no idea
works.
what you're doing. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, yeah.
sometimes that works, but it'll be 1 in 100 times that it'll work. That's, you want to be completely front loading everything and just work with a creative. Once you've got a really amazing idea, frankly, the rest of my team are going to hate me saying this, but you could shoot a fantastic idea on an iPhone. If it's a fantastic idea, it's a fantastic idea. The production is secondary to the idea. So I would say that's what you want to focus on.
Yeah, it's a nice way of looking at it. I think whenever we get that sort of question, like, should I be going for, user generated content, TikTok style? Should I go in for something a bit more polished? I always try and think about, well, what you're trying to achieve with this.
Yeah.
Are you trying to inform people? Going back to what you were saying before, you're trying to kind of give them the nuts and bolts, that piece. In which case, you could probably do some sort of user generated content, something that's a
Mhm.
little bit simpler to kind of put together, something that feels um, authentic, I guess. Feels like you're kind of
That's the
hearing
key
from real
word.
people.
That's the key word,
Um,
isn't it? Authenticity.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you're talking about what your first day is going to be like, wouldn't it be nice if it was just your line manager talking about it on a video for the onboarding piece?
Yeah.
The flip of that might be that you've got a lot of competition in the market, and you want to capture people's attention. You want to, we talk about moving people. I want to make them feel something, either
Yes.
feel inspired or curious or excited, that type of thing. because when people feel something, they tend to remember you a bit better. You know, they
Yeah,
kind of,
sure.
so if someone makes you laugh, so makes you
Yes.
feel good, you automatically want to, you kind of gravitate towards that person. And I
Yeah,
think
sure.
for me, still now, that more polished piece, actually, what I mean by polished is more of a storytelling piece. I
Hmm.
think
Okay.
when you put some effort into the story that you're telling, I
Yeah.
think you've got more of a chance to get people to feel something
Yeah.
versus um, something that's a bit more authentic, a bit more down to earth, a bit more nuts and bolts, I guess.
Yeah,
People
but
never necessarily feel
possibly a bit more
something.
like throwaway, I suppose. Like in terms
Yeah,
of you kind of, I know what you mean. You kind of really the ideal is like, yeah, you want something that leaves them thinking about it way after they've finished watching it and they've scrolled on
yeah,
or whatever, but it's like left an impression on them, which is
yeah,
hard to
yeah.
do.
Think about the John Lewis Christmas advert. I mean, and
Yeah.
you know, everyone who works in video or marketing or anything like that, kind of, that's almost their Christmas, isn't it? Waiting for those Christmas
Yeah,
adverts to
yeah,
come out. Let's be honest.
yeah, yeah,
But then you know they are so ubiquitous now that everybody talks about them and everyone
yeah.
has a marketing opinion on them. And the idea is that it leaves you thinking something. It leaves
Yes,
you with a feeling that you associate with John Lewis, and therefore you go and shop with them. And I guess
yes,
that for me is the difference between that sort of like high-end story-driven piece
yes,
that I think has still really got a place versus the user-generated sort of grittier, lower production end that
yeah,
also has a place, but
yes,
they've got a different reason for existing. And I don't
yes.
think it's a one or the other. It's
I
a
don't think
what
it
you're
is.
trying to achieve right now.
Yes, definitely. And I think it's understanding what that narrative is as well, and fully understanding like who you're trying to attract. Because I think there's one thing of trying to attract somebody who is really looking for like career progression. There's somebody who's really trying to jump up that ladder and it's very like aspirational. And that is very different to somebody that you might be trying to attract for a different job who's maybe like changing career and is maybe not on that same trajectory as like, oh, this is really, I'm excited about kind of moving up that ladder and possibly earning more money and thing. But actually the person that you might be attracting is maybe going through a career change and is maybe nervous about moving jobs and their immediate need. It's like understanding their needs, like the needs of the
Yeah,
people that are moved, and those two people's needs are like totally different, and that will entirely change the narrative. So I think, although on paper, sometimes like a narrative sounds amazing, but if it and it would look amazing, and I think if it hit the right audience, it would be flying. But if you've like mismatched that narrative with the audience, it completely falls on its face because it's like not right for that particular like segment that you're going for. So I think often like yeah, it's aligning those two things. Like I said, you could have a fantastic video campaign, but if it's kind of ill-conceived from the get-go in terms of like who it's aimed at, then you might as well not do it. Like there's no point. There's
yeah,
you
yeah,
know it's just going to fall flat. So I think that's just as important as like the quality of the video.
yeah, yeah. That makes sense. Um, Kind of near this sort of question. So, you with the production company, I guess this kind of does come up a lot. Do I have the budget to do a recruitment video? How much do I need to put behind this to make a recruitment video? Have you got a thought on that? I guess the question is, I think a lot of people, especially the people I end up talking to as well, assume that video has to cost quite a lot. They
Mhm.
assume that it's a big investment. They can maybe only do it once a year, maybe even once every couple of years.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that? Do you need a big
Yeah.
budget to do a great recruitment video?
Yeah, I think, I'm not going to pretend it's not an insignificant amount of money to spend. It's, I think as a video producer, again, I feel like that's the tagline of this whole chat. As a video producer, of course I'm going to say this, but like it's an incredibly effective medium. Obviously I'm going to say it's more effective than anything, but I genuinely believe that even if it didn't work in this, it's just quick. It hits you on like every sense, like sound, maybe not smell, but like sound, visual, like everything. It's just everything together. It's so efficient at just hitting to the heart of getting a message over within. Sometimes you can get a message over. You have to get a message over in 5 seconds on social media. You cannot do that with any other medium. So I
Yeah,
think it is definitely worth investing in. However, I do understand that like it is an investment, and I would say it's just about kind of working smarter rather than harder, and it's capitalizing on if we can if you've got us, if you're going to hire a crew for a day, let's make the most of us. And, because it is, you've got to get actors in, you potentially got to get people who work at the business, you've got to take them out of their roles for the day. While we're there, while we're in place, let's shoot as much content as we can. Let's try and get a hero kind of brand video for the website, for the job sites. But then let's think about kind of working down that pyramid. How else can we use this content? How can we push that kind of through into smaller snippets for social media? Can we take some of their stuff out and use it for GIFs that we could put on, into emails? Could we, you kind of want to work like that way down. What's the main thing that we want to do? And then how does that trickle down and filter into all the other use cases? And it might even be stuff that's outside recruitment. Can we work with like other departments to kind of absorb some of that cost into different use cases? So I'm all about we're really happy with the footage. We think it looks fantastic. Please use it as much as you possibly can. Like, we'll help you work on those different avenues, but that it kind of softens that initial cost of because effectively working on that creative can be used across all these different mediums. And also from a brand point of view, it's amazing if we can keep a lovely consistency across all this stuff. This is why we work when we do projects with you guys, we often work with photographers at the same time. Everything's looking lovely and consistent. And I think it's just it's like capitalizing on the time that you've got us.
Yeah.
So yeah,
really good point. And I think it goes back to what you were saying before about front loading, the planning, the idea, the creative, etc. Because then when we are there on shoot day, one shoot day doesn't just mean one video. It could mean 5 videos. It could mean 10 videos. Yeah. And I think you make a good point of as well. You've got the footage then. Yeah. That footage is quite a rich asset.
100%.
And we find we can use that across a whole bunch of channels, a whole bunch of touch points, etc. That you maybe even didn't think about at the time of coming up with a video. Just later on, you're like, great, we could use that video in that situation now as well. Yes. That's cool. Or can we get a bit of an edit from this video now to bring into the? And we find that happens a lot. It's not kind of a one-hit wonder.
Exactly. We try and split it up when we're thinking of like filming stuff. We're like, this is I think of it as like, well, this is this campaign specific footage. And usually it's like very specific things of like, if it's got a certain actor in it, or they're dressed in a certain way, or they're carrying out certain action, it won't necessarily work in 12 months time because the campaign's changed. But at the same time, when we're filming kind of B-roll of things that kind of activity around the business, I think of that as like evergreen content. So it's like you can potentially think of that as it might be an extra couple of hours that we're filming on a day, but it means that you're creating like a bank of assets, of video assets, that when you need stuff later on in the year, you can go, right, well, we've got all that footage of like from in the warehouse, or we've got all those amazing like kind of hero images of these staff members from the factory, and like we can dip into that stuff for other projects. So that's why we try, and when we send kind of footage over, we'll kind of give the brand team and the marketing team kind of a bit of a heads up of like, we've used this in the edit, but just an FYI, like we've got tons of other footage. So like if you need other stuff in the future, then we can kind of dip back into that. And it's just, again, it's getting more bang for your buck, really.
It is more ROI out of it, isn't it? I think from a creative team standpoint, kind of with the brands that we work with, it's just so useful. Yeah. So useful when you think about another media channel. So useful when you think about how we get that certain message over there, and you can go, well, I've got this rich bank of video content that we can dip into, really high quality, professional video content that we can kind of dip into. It's really invaluable, I think, is that.
I think the next stage of that is going to be, I don't think we're quite at it yet, but possibly like with the advent of AI and things like that, being able to have a platform where we can log all that fairly seamlessly and kind of tag it, and then we can share that with the client so they know what footage they've got access to. So potentially if they're thinking of campaigns 3, 6, 12 months down the road, instead of coming to us and having to go, oh, did you have a shot of Sandra stacking shelves in this day? Like, we can just give them access that's like fully tagged, that like they could just go into it and be like, warehouse shots, and they can see it. Like we'd keep that repository for them on site, but it just means that they'd have access to it. So it kind of just means that they can, even before they hit us up to ask us, do you have this stuff? They can already have it in their mind of like, oh, well, actually, we know that you guys have got that stuff. So could we get an edit? I think that's the next stage. It's just like we haven't quite worked out like the best way of shit, because it's a ton of content as well. Like, you know, we've got literally terabytes and terabytes and terabytes of hard drives and
that's the thing
backups.
with
And
video,
yeah, exactly. And it's just finding a way of kind of putting that online so they can share it easily.
I think that's a really good point as well around kind of partnership.
Yeah,
And it
that's
doesn't
exactly.
necessarily mean that we're creating a video a month, a video every three, but it's more just about having that close partnership with the client to help them and understand them and kind of be building that bank of content that is always there for them. And you've got a really
Yeah.
great, and we've got a really great understanding as to um, how they operate. And I think
Mm.
you'll be the same as me, but working with loads of different clients in loads of different industries, you end up learning about quite a lot of stuff.
100%.
I say
Yeah,
stuff, I
yeah,
mean, we've learned about logistics operations, about
yeah,
how furnaces work,
yeah,
about how delivery drivers operate. I
yeah.
mean, I've been in all sorts of strange situations, and
I
that
often think this. I've got a very shallow, it's like a
but
shallow
broad, yeah,
but broad knowledge of like
yeah,
all sorts of random stuff. Like before I was in Manchester, I was based in Scotland and worked in the whiskey industry a lot, Scottish salmon. So like that industry, just the most random things that I know about the logistics of how that sort of stuff works. And then we work a lot in pharma and medical and things like that. And the weird like medical devices that I have knowledge about are very, very
yeah.
strange. But yeah,
You're right. You're right. I once had to draw a very intricate illustration of a catheter, so I know much more about a
oh
catheter
yeah,
than
us
I
too,
ever
us
would
too.
have
Yeah, don't
wanted to do.
worry.
So, um, but you're right though. That broad but kind of shallow in place of knowledge is actually really helpful though, because then
Really helpful. Yeah.
when you've got that partnership with the client, talking medical devices, talking furnaces, talking logistical operations, whatever that is, you start to understand how you shoot it, but not also how you shoot it, but considering the health and safety aspects of it, the
Yeah.
things that are really quite often easy to overlook by someone that has never worked in that type of industry before.
Yes.
And I think that's a really good, it's a really good point in how partnerships build a really good working base as well
Yeah.
for
100%.
future stuff. But you mention AI, which obviously every chat about any sort of marketing ever needs to
Yeah.
mention
We're
AI
gonna we're
from
gonna
now
have
on.
to talk about it.
Um, so
Obligatory chat
I'm
about you and AI.
Exactly. So I'm just going to throw out a bit of a last question, I think, before we wrap up, and that is, what's next for video in talent comms, or what's next for video in general? What's coming up?
It's a good question. I think I genuinely I'm very positive about. I'm not a scaremonger about AI video. I think we're like you guys. Like we've kind of adapted to it. We've made use of
Mm-hmm.
it. I don't think it's coming for our jobs. I still think that the like what people come to us for. I think we need to all in on the industry get it out of our heads that we're just the people that turn up with the cameras and press a button, because we are just
Yeah,
glorified button pushers then. Like we're not just that. We come up with the ideas, we come up with the creative. And as amazing as AI is, I was going to say coming up with ideas, rehashing ideas, it really struggles to come up with something that feels unique and feels authentic. And don't get me wrong, I'm not a total luddite. I know that AI is going to get better and better and better, but currently what we're really leaning into is like the human focused stories. It's the things that can't be not can't be replicated by AI, but humans don't want it to be replicated by AI. Anything we do quite a lot in the charity sector, and like I say, like medical and pharma. And as soon as anybody starts getting a sniff that when they're watching a video, that it's kind of not real, like there's elements to AI, people instantly are like, I don't trust this anymore. This
yeah,
hasn't got a human behind it. And I think it's the same, definitely the same with recruitment. There's no way,
yeah,
if I was interested in joining a company and I had a feeling that there were elements of it that were produced by AI, I lose its trust. It's all about trust. And as soon as feel that something was a bit off, and humans have got an incredible instinct for spotting AI and
For real people, yeah.
real people. We've been, since we've been born, we've been recognizing faces, expressions. As soon as something, what's it called, the uncanny valley, like of as soon as something's not quite right, we spot it straight away, and that just dissolves any trust that we had, dissolves instantly, and you completely lose faith in it. And I think you can't be doing that if you're trying to get somebody's trust to come and come into our business, come in and be part of this. We want to grow with you. Like as soon as that
You're not
illusion,
wrong there. You're not
as
wrong.
soon
I
as that
think
illusion is gone, there's no point. So
it's such a people focused thing, isn't it?
it's
Recruitment. Like
literally the
you're
most.
going back to what we said. You're about to spend 40 hours a week with these people,
Yeah.
and you really want them to be real people and authentic,
Yeah.
and all of that sort of good stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
which I personally I don't think is quite the same always for consumer marketing. If you think
No, I don't
the
think it's.
Coca-Cola holidays are coming advert this year.
Yes,
I
all
think
AI,
it's
right?
entirely AI created, 70,000 prompts created it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I hope that most people recognize that it is AI.
Well, there's a big backlash to it. I saw a lot of people kind of poo-pooing it online, and I mean, I'm going to give them a bit of. They've done an AI video before,
Yeah,
TVC before, haven't they? And I remember watching it and thinking, oh yeah, it's cool, it's like impressive and stuff. But I think for like consumer marketing, I say this often that like probably half the Coca-Cola pours that you see in a TV ad are probably 3D generated anyway. It's probably
yeah, because yeah,
CGI anyway. Like I've got a friend who works for KFC, and like most of the stuff that they do, like everything's kind of artificial to some extent anyway, whether it's you use a food stylist to pin it together with cocktail sticks, or if it's literally 3D, it's created in with CGI, so it's not real anyway. So then if you're creating it with AI, I'm kind of like, it's only like one step away from it anyway. I don't think people really care too much. They kind of understand that that's not real anyway. It's when you start bringing human elements of it, things
yeah,
that
you're right.
you need to be human for, like the thing that you're buying into is the human element of it. As soon as that is no longer human, what's the point? Like,
Yeah.
so I
No,
think
you're
you
not
might.
wrong. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
I think the really interesting thing with all of the sort of like video and advertising and AI is the ChatGPT campaign that's out at the moment. That is
Yeah.
all shot with real people or actors on really high quality cameras, and they tell
Wild, isn't
great
it?
stories, and none
Yeah.
of it is AI generated in any way, shape, or form. And I just think
Yeah.
that's testament to what you're saying, that humans desire human connection and can
Yeah.
instantly spot
Yeah.
something that's a little bit off. Not saying that's always going to be the case. It might get
Yeah.
to a point
Well,
where it
like I
is
said, that.
amazing at
Yeah.
replicating human connection, but at the
Yeah.
moment it's not.
I.
Which doesn't mean we don't use it. I mean, we use it. I think it's got some great applications.
Yeah.
There's ways, I think, for the future of video. There's ways of probably exploring how do you take a small clip that you've got and need to repurpose it for something else, or maybe
Yeah.
AI can help you generate a repurposed version of that using the
Yeah.
same person in the same environment, but they are more compliant to a new health and safety regulation or something like that, which
Yeah.
previously you didn't have to worry about when you shot it. That
Yeah.
could be a really good, you're not then getting another crew in for the day. You
Yeah.
can edit it quite quickly. I see that being the sort of next logical step of
Yeah. The next
video
evolution
use
of
in
it.
AI.
Yeah, because then I
Yeah,
feel
but
like you're still keeping the integrity that you set out to
yeah,
have, but you kind of just slightly augmented by an AI tool. I think there's things in Premiere where you can editing software where you can, if you had kind of cut too early, you can kind of use AI to extend the clip, and
okay, yeah,
it's basic. It's kind of interpret. I guess it's like the way that you would. It's like interpolation, I think, where it's kind of looks at the end of the clip and guesses what would the next
yeah.
bit be. Which I guess, again, if I'm being very hardline on it, like no AI video, okay, yeah, maybe it's not okay, but I feel like you got to pick your battles. AI isn't going anywhere. I think as long as you're staying true to the your original kind of goal of keeping it human, I'm willing to kind of dip into AI. I think I'm a massive hypocrite, basically.
That's fair. That's fair. Cool. I mean, I think that kind of wraps it up a little bit. I think
Yeah,
we've covered
cool.
quite a lot of ground there.
Yeah,
Thank you for this chat.
No
I know we're
problem.
working together on a bunch of stuff at the moment, which is fantastic. Cheers, Mark. Catch you
Nice
again in a
one.
bit.
Cheers. Good to chat.